What is going on? Are you done? You
No.
good? All right, go ahead. I'm gonna let you dance it out. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go. Hey, dance it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome back to another amazing and impactful episode of the True Health Forever podcast, where we shall live our best life through the lens of holistic health. You were confused on the hands for a second. You
Maybe
played
a
it
little
off
bit.
well.
Maybe a little bit.
I'm your host, Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and as usual, I have with me the health coach herself, the dancing queen, the curl-rific beauty of the stars. Please introduce yourself.
Beauty of the stars.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. What's up, everybody? My name is Sinclair, aka the
The
Health Nerd, and happy to be here on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange.
It is.
A Monday afternoon after successfully coaching 2 clients. Ding. Yeah, happy to be here. It's a holiday, Labor Day. We're doing a little bit of labor before we relax and continue our Harry Potter marathon.
Oh yes, that was good. We didn't make it too far last night, to be honest with you.
We made it halfway through the first one.
Woo! But today we are going to talk about, I think, a topic that is there, right? It's always looming
always there.
in the clouds, but I don't think we always address it. And it's something that we're actively fighting through right now. And we, I think, are pretty transparent about our own health journeys on this podcast. We haven't made it. We aren't the 100% experts. We are developing with you all. So we're going to talk about today self sabotage, right? And this, by self sabotage, we mean like, how are you getting in your own way of becoming the best you can be, of living your best life? How are you a self barrier in getting to that next level, right? Consciously or subconsciously. Queen, are you ready?
I'm ready for some podcast.
Why every time? Why you got to do this to us? Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the episode. All right, we're out. All right, so jumping right into it. And again, if you're listening on Apple Music, Spotify, we appreciate your support. Definitely make sure you leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. It helps more people get the impact of the True Health Forever podcast. So before we hop into it, Queen, definition of self sabotage. Break it down.
No, it's like to start before we dive really deep into something. Let's start off with the definition. What are we talking about? Make sure we're all on the same page when we're talking about self-sabotage. So I have a little definition here. So behaviors. What was that? Did you have something?
I was wording to the crowd, what is wrong with her, in case you were wondering. But you can proceed.
Oh, that was it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the definition: behaviors or thought patterns that hold you back and prevent you from doing what you want to do. Notice every pronoun there was you, right? So he already mentioned like, what are you doing to be in your own way? You've heard the phrase like, get out of your own way.
Yes.
Something we all need to do, because in some way, shape, or form, we are our barrier in our own success. And for most people, probably the biggest barrier, right? I think we've heard like a lot of successful people when they talk about like what they did to get their success is like, I got out of my own way. I started to actually believe in myself. And once I did that, the sky's the limit.
Right. And I love that it's two things, right? And Jair, if you can put that definition on one more time, shout out to Jair, you know what I'm saying? Always having it right and ready for us. But it's the behaviors, right? So it's the habits, it's what you're actually doing, and pattern of thoughts. So it's not even only what you're doing, it's also what's in your head. What are you thinking? Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I don't have the time to do that. Like, all these thoughts are also acts of self sabotage. So make sure you're paying attention to what you're doing and to how you're thinking. So y'all know she's the queen of like definitions, and I'm the queen of books. All right.
Yes, as you can
see a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, that's about half the collection. I honestly ran out of bookshelf space and I had to start throwing away some stuff. You'll be proud of me, y'all. I threw away. I was going to talk about this during the highlights, but we're here right now. I've been hoarding PlayStation 2 games, PlayStation 3 games.
When is the last time you played a PlayStation?
I haven't played the PlayStation since probably 2015, 2014.
Really? Even then?
I feel like I played it once because I bought it in 2014, 2015. I feel like I played it once or twice, probably with Javon. Shout out to Javon and Chelsea. Played it once and then, yeah, it just never happened again.
I've known you for in 3 months, 10 years now, and I've
never
never seen you use the PlayStation 2.
That was really funny. Kevin Hart, always a good one. But long story short, I started throwing away all that stuff, and we'll get into procrastination in a second. But I threw away all that stuff that I haven't used in years to make room for the books that I do use on a semi-consistent basis. But anyway, this book that I'm going to recommend folks to check out, it's on Audible, it's on Amazon. I'm sure you can get some free tidbits on the internet, but it's called The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. In this book, and I listened to this probably in PH, so like 3 years ago, listened to it for the first time, and I started clicking like, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And it breaks down literally the internal war that you have with yourself when you're trying to create something and put something out into the world. Mm-hmm. And not even as just an artist, like, oh, I'm trying to, create a new dance, or I'm trying to create a new painting, I'm trying to do a podcast, but it can be, I'm trying to launch a business. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to lose 5 pounds. I'm trying to get married. Like, it was literally just goals that you're setting up for yourself. And he goes through the internal battle that you have. And the main battle is this term called resistance. And he says resistance occurs when you are trying to make a choice that delays the immediate gratification over long-term gain. Right? One more time. I'm going to back it up. We back. All right. Resistance occurs when you are trying to make a choice that delays, shout out to Jair, delays immediate gratification over long-term gain. Resistance will take any form to trick you into choosing the short-term gain. I want y'all to let that sink in for a second. It's going to come back later when we go through our 3 steps. But literally every time you are trying to get towards a goal, you have that internal battle with yourself over, should I just chill right now and relax, watch some Netflix? Should I, have myself a margarita? Should I eat this pizza? Whatever your short-term gain might be. Or should I lock down and finish writing this book? Or should I lock down and schedule my one-on-one meetings with my health coaching clients? Or should I lock down and try to get, whatever the variable is for you? And I have one more that I'm going to pass on to you to see how you feel about this. Okay. Do you have any thoughts yet?
Of course.
Oh, go ahead. Dive in.
Oh, I wonder if hopefully I'm not going to ruin what you're going to say next. But I always like to ask, I always like to go to why? Because that's so interesting that literally, I feel like that's why success, whatever you're trying to do, why it feels so good once you've accomplished it, because you've literally had an internal battle with yourself every step of the way. And so that's a real triumph, whether it's something small or something big. Once you've accomplished that, pat yourself on the back because you've overcome you.
You've overcome you.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. Some quotes on that.
Yeah.
But the other thing that came to mind was the concept of again, just asking the question why. And I feel like it probably comes back to the idea of the survival when your body, in your mind, you're I'm preparing for success in 5 years or 10 years. I'm setting myself up for success in the next year, the next 6 months, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, whatever it is. But your body is probably more but I don't know if we're going to wake up tomorrow.
What about right now, bro?
Right. We need to do what's going to make us happy and help us survive right now. So I feel like that's the constant struggle and the idea of why I guess delayed gratification is so hard, because your survival and your instincts want to focus on right now. Very interesting.
100%. And I'm not going to go into a full deep dive. The book is a really good book. He talks about the concept of the ego you, psychology, versus the self you. And he says the ego you doesn't care about the future.
Mm.
The ego you doesn't even know if religion is real, doesn't
Mm.
know like what comes after life. The ego you is right now. It's almost like your animal instincts.
What is the show called? Something States of Tara? United States of Tara.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that show?
I do.
If you've ever seen that show, it's a person who has what is the disorder called? DID.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what it's called, but basically like a person who has multiple personalities. And so she's not able to control it, but she will go into different personalities.
Dissociative identity disorder.
Thank you. Shout out. But there's one of her personalities, and it's a fictional show. I don't know if it's based on real life, but there are people who do have this. But there is a personality that is basically like her primal, like animal, like, and I don't remember what they call it, but I think we all have that in us. And that's so interesting. That's the first thing that came to my mind is the picture of her that when that personality comes, she's literally like on all fours, like not speaking. That's very interesting. That's her survival, like id. Very.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's constantly, and there's another way to do it. There's like the lower self, which would be that primal state, and the higher self, which is your human self. I can think about the future, that I have morals, I care about other people over myself, like all of that. Animals don't necessarily have all of that. And constantly when you're trying to create art, when you're trying to create a better future for yourself, it's a war, it's a battle between the lower self, your ego you, and your higher self, your just called self. Right. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. I'm not gonna go dive fully into it.
That's a whole nother podcast.
It's a whole nother podcast. But I do want to talk about this next thing right here. And y'all let me know, Queen, let me know if you feel this.
Okay.
I felt it.
Okay.
I felt it deep.
You like,
I was like, oh, he's talking to me. He wrote these words for me, right? So y'all let me know if you feel it too. But it says, the more important something is to our soul and long-term vision, the more resistance you will feel. Just right, that just hits. Bro. It's just a dagger right there. Like, dang, you know me.
Yeah,
I'll say it one
facts.
more time. The more important something is to our soul or our long-term goals, right? You want to be the best educator in the world. You want to be the best dancer. You want to be the number one health coach. Whatever your big goal is, the harder it is to make that one step, that two steps towards that goal. You can do a whole bunch of other stuff that seem productive, and you're doing things, right? You're doing things. This is my Achilles heel. I'm doing things. I'm feeling productive. I'm making presentations. I'm posting on Instagram. I'm doing all types of stuff. But none of that is actually getting me towards what my number one goal or my number one purpose is. So all those other things are distractions. All those other things are really just resistance towards what I really want. So think about that. Yeah. Man. Think about that. Yeah. Queen, I'm passing it off to you.
Whew, that I felt that. I felt that. Even just with like when you want something, when you really want something, it is hard. It is hard. I feel like that's when like the imposter syndrome, that's like the first thing that came to mind. Like whatever you feel the most imposter syndrome with is probably because you care about that the most. And you want to be the best. You want to be that person that is thriving. Right. But it's like you're constantly, again, questioning, you're doubting yourself. Like, but I'm not that person right now. And you're just that fight, that constant fight of like, well, I'm not that person right now, so I'm just not going to try. When in actuality, the mindset should be, no, I'm not the person that I want to be, but the only way to get there is by taking this first step, right? And I'm not going to be perfect, and I know I'm going to have some failure along the way, but I'm going to take the step anyways. Right. I feel like that's the hardest part right there. Whew. Yeah, I felt that.
Felt that one?
Yeah, right. I did.
I'm gonna pass it off to you, and as you're looking for it, I'm just gonna do one more. Okay. But I'm passing right off to you. And it said that resistance, again, takes the form of a lot of different things. It can take the form of procrastination. That's the most popular one. Like, oh, I can do that tomorrow. I can do that next week. Yeah. And then you keep telling yourself that. It can take the form of what you choose to eat or consume to distract yourself from it, whether that's substances, alcohol, really sugary foods, really fattening foods, like all those things that, again, spike your immediate gratification, but doesn't help you with that long-term goal. And it can also be other people. Right. So, Queen, I'll pass it over
other
to you.
people. What do you mean?
Other people. So in your head, and this isn't other people sabotaging you, this is your thoughts sabotaging you. So let's say, and this happened the other day, my dad was like, hey, Devon, let's shoot some basketball in the morning. It was like a Tuesday. Demetrius was about to go off to school. He was like, come to the park, shoot some basketball. And in my head, I could have been like, yeah, let's go do that. But I had to copy the house key, which I had been procrastinating on for weeks and trying, and it hasn't been working. I had to create an outline for the podcast. Like, I had things that I had to do. If I would have said yes in that moment, that would have been me giving myself a procrastination pass. Like, oh yeah, it's important. Let me play basketball with them. Let me go do this. And I would have missed out on these 3 tasks that I said I was supposed to do.
And I think the key part there, which makes it so much easier to give in those moments, is like, it's not like I reached out and said that let's go play basketball. It's like he's reaching out to me. So all I have to do is say yes. Right. Very interesting.